Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, the importance of understanding and using radionics properly is to understand the non-physical against the physical. And I've been mentioning this often recently, and this will be detailed in much greater detail in my course on subtle energy physics, because it all works together. What good is understanding how the universe works if you can't harness and control it? Who cares? So this is one of the problems we have with societies, the fact we have information from scientists. Who cares? Who cares what Pluto's a planet or not? You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is filthy rich and talks a bunch of nonsense ultimately, and all the other physicists that give us theories, theoretical, well, ifs, ands, and buts. Where's my $150,000 a year? So this is the kind of nonsense you get. So even if it is correct, if it doesn't really lead you anyplace, it is worthless. So I always give you details, and then we have to figure out, how do we harness this power? If this is how the universe works, why can't we use it for the horrible problems that this entire psychotic world is all about? But if you're going to individually use these energies, and this goes for any energy, any type of non-physical energy, alternative science, occult science, is all using non-physical energies. And this is very important to understand. Regular physics works from the physical to the non-physical, and subtle energy physics works from the non-physical to the physical. Now, why this is important is you have to understand this concept if you're going to use these energies properly, plain and simple. Now, I go into this in much greater details on Patreon, etc. I hope everybody who's listening to this subscribes and you click like. This is the game played here. YouTube is a horrible, discriminating organization, and very few people get the exposure that are speaking truth. It's amazing the bozos that have, quote, so many views. Secondly, it's really, I'm not going to be giving out any kind of practical information here. They're going to give you theoretical talks, or talks that are not necessarily practical, but basically they are, because everything I talk about is practical anyway. But make sure you support us on Patreon and you'll get the inside information. We'll soon be showing the insides of classic radionic machines. And we, of course, will be giving you rates and other things which will certainly be much more valuable than the amount that you pay monthly. But the whole idea, if you want the good support, if you want the good technology coming out, all the things that I can offer you particularly, and I'm not really too concerned about the general public. I'm concerned about those who support me in my work, and you will be unbelievably rewarded for it. We are now refining very potent technology. We really are controlling the forces of the universe and creation. No one else does that. We can go to CERN, where they take things and slam them together really fast, and what's left over is what we think is matter. This is the kind of nonsense. This is the kind of modern level, preschool, kindergarten attitude that your physicists do. I mean, it's really unbelievable. I mean, Tesla said that we will jump leaps and bounds in science when we study the non-physical. But that's never going to happen, so we're going to be left in the sewer of science that we have. And remember, in the end, you can blame the politicians, you can blame the militaries and the police departments. In the end, the people who are empowering them are the scientists. They have a heavy hat to put on, and they have a lot of bowing and asking forgiveness. They have empowered the worst scum of the planet to destroy it. So we must understand that there's a heavy burden for these scientists and what they have given to the government, or I should say sold out to the government. So let's blame those who really deserve it, and it's those scientists who have enabled people with horrible weapons and technology for nothing more than their paycheck. It's pretty sad. So To understand all that stuff will be offered in Patreon. So go up to the upper right, you'll see the Patreon link, and join there, and you will get fantastic information there. There is no support from YouTube. It's a ridiculously low-paying media that wants you to be a slave, work for them. It's unbelievable that the time and work that it goes into these things, you get probably $2 or less an hour is what it adds up to. It's ridiculous. But you fill their channels, and they've made record profits this year. They've made billions more, by the way. So the whole idea is that we have to understand that. So, and you have to understand how it works here, and that's why I'm telling you this. So there's lots of great things, and everybody's kind of moving over to other medias where people will support and pay for. That's the way it is. Just like TV and everything else is no longer free, you should be supporting a few people monthly for whatever you can afford, as well as your cable bills and the other things that we all have to pay, your internet, etc. That's all part of what people need to understand now. And you can vote with your pocketbook. That works the best. You like somebody, you want to support them, vote for them. And the whole idea is to get enough people that no one has to really put in that much. So that's the reality there. So moving back into the non-physical. Now, most people cannot use radionic equipment on their own. You've got to train yourself, you've got to sensitize yourself, and people are not doing it. If you're not using the psychic training kits and you're not using the visualization tools, you don't have the capacity. If you're not training yourself and doing daily workouts with your pendulum, you can't do it. This is a fantasy pushed on you by people wanting to sell you a bunch of machines, and you're going to get very poor results. And that's usually what most people get from radionics that are to use it, is that they are getting very poor results because they don't know how to use their equipment properly. I don't know of anyone who's selling a, quote, rate book or what you dial into your machine to get anything from. I mean, this went back to the vibrational medical type rates that were offered. These are considered now problematical because it's kind of stating you're treating something medically when you're not, because you're not doing anything physical. But we don't have rates for anything else, and hardly anyone has rates out there for different things. Now, there's a few people have come out. I think it's Gravavani, however you pronounce his name, has some rates for different things that he's come out with, and there's a few others. And people don't buy machines, they just meditate or focus on the rate, which is a series of numbers. Very few other people do that. They want to sell you machine after machine, but they have poor training courses. And secondly, there's no rates to go with it. They don't give you anything to empower the machine with. So you have a psychic amplifying tool with nothing to amplify it with. And people just don't understand that. They're thinking that radionics is some sort of electrical magnetic spectrum electrical, that these are magnetic fields, you're putting electrical energies through there, they're Hertzian. This is not true whatsoever. There's no radionic machine ever made that's a radionic machine that's going to put electricity through the dials. We are not sending Hertzian fields. Now, Rife machines, and I've repeated this many times, but I don't think people get it. Rife machines are frequency machines. They put a particular Hertzian field through you that was supposed to affect your energetic body, which would then affect physical things. So frequency machines are very common now. I see them pushed all the time. So people are selling these frequency machines and you dial in for a particular condition or whatever. How these things work, we don't know. We don't know if the Rife machines ever work. We get back into all this area that is very confusing, and it gets really down to gossip. And people are plain delusional. They're either making money off of it, or they want to somehow think they have a secret that they know that you don't know. So I find it hard to believe, because you don't really hear about anybody being cured from anything using alternative technologies. You never hear of anybody going to England to be treated by radionic practitioners and coming back singing the praises where it is legal. You don't hear it. How come? Well, how come? Because it doesn't work with most people, and it's as simple as that. So these are all the problems that go on. If you don't understand the non-physical, if you don't train yourself properly, you're going to get very poor results. Now, the best thing to do is just work with a professional who will get rates for you, which you can then put on your machine, and that's all you have to do. Dialing of dials does absolutely nothing. These are strictly psychoenergetic fields. You're just putting energy in there. Thought form energy is what these machines work off of. And having a grid there with wires through it is a minor help. If you have a good sigil that is empowering it, if you have a good machine that picks up these energies, which is really coming from your thought forms, you don't need to do dialing, but you do need somebody to give you the numbers. And there are general numbers, and then there's specific numbers, and specific numbers or rates work better. So if you get a rate for success for you personally, well, this is going to work better than one you take out of a book. So that's very important as well. So it is good that somebody gets you specific information. Now, we're going to be offering this service very soon where we will get you specific rates, and we'll even put it on a particular tag with a sigil behind it to give it further energy that you then put on your actually amplifiers. And you have to use proper amplifiers, and you have to use proper broadcasts, which have been modified to handle these subtle energies. Now, one of the things that everybody gets stuck in is the fact of, would you prefer to have a physical object? One of the things we have recently run into is this resonant water, which is charged with energy. And all it's charged with, and we're not really sure how they're doing it, but if they're putting electrical fields through here, well, they're making a big mistake, because that's how these things don't work. Now, the work that was done that he has shared with us, William Bankston, was hands-on psychic work. He's never mentioned using machines or anything else. This is a danger as well, because this now gets into pseudo practicing of medicine if you use tools. Psychic work generally is not frowned upon. It's considered spiritual. When you put it into a machine, well, this becomes a big problem in legality. So I don't know what he's doing or not. I find it hard to believe he doesn't know about radionics. Apparently his people don't know, because when I brought it up, they ignored it, that are selling his products. But, you know, there's some very dysfunctional people that are working in his Netherlands operation there selling his stuff. They don't really seem to understand much of anything, and their English is piss poor. So the whole idea is that's all part of the problem that actually is going on. They probably are even using translating programs, even though the Dutch claim that 98% of the Dutch speak English. Yeah, at what level? I always find people speak English at less than kindergarten level. So they don't really get it. They don't understand. They come from cultures that have 3,000 words in their language, and they're used to pushing everything together. And of course, let's not forget, oh, yeah, this is male, this is female, this is transsexual. Yeah, this is what all these stupid fuckers live with. And this is one of the problems that we run into with the ignoramuses and the basic non-English language. So you've got a mishmash of garbage there, and that's why you really can't take anything from non-English speaking people that are seriously, because who translated that and what does it mean? They have no idea what something means. They take 5 or 6 words and put it together where it would be one English word. So this causes serious problems in the long run. But getting back to the non-physical, you have to. So if I was to say here, are you going to take this vibrational product, like a water or a stone or something that is vibrational in nature, homeopathy is a pure vibration. That's what they give you. And a lot of people get great results from it. I've never been a huge fan of it, but a lot of people are. And there's been a lot of history that it works well. Now, again, we just don't know, because everything is a mishmash of corruption and bad language translations and all the other things I've just covered. But the bottom line is that if I was to give you a vibration, meaning a number, over a physical substance, you would look at it and probably say, I probably prefer to have the physical substance. Now, the ultimate subtle energy is a radionic rate. The number is vibrating that particular energetic field, which you can specify when a proper practitioner draws that numbers using pendulums, and you will get a very perfect vibration. This can then be connected to your vibration, and of course this is what we do with our energy cells, etc., because we pick your very particular cosmic code, we put that on the back of the energy cell, and then we put the frequency in the front, the psychoenergetic frequency. And of course, when you use that term, there's problems there. When you say frequency, people think of electronics. But we put that thought form energy, that informational energetic field is really the best way to say it, and then that is sent directly to you because your specific field is there as well. So ideally, and we've started doing this with a lot of our cells, we build these numbers into them, is that we have a vibrational energy number that we put into our sigils that energizes it, and then that energy is sent to your number, which is engraved on the back of the actual cell, the energy cell that you get. And this is all vibrational in nature. There is nothing physical whatsoever to do with any of this stuff. It doesn't work on the physical level. It works on the vibrational energy level. As I've said many times, physicists work from the inside out, and subtle energy physicists work from the outside in. We're dealing strictly with vibrational, informational, energetic fields. These are not considered real, and they have nothing to do with the physical body directly. People that deal with the physical body directly are called doctors. So very, very different. Yet we're hoping for better results. If you balance, and of course, medications don't heal you. Medications help your body heal, and people don't understand that. But they're still working in a physical nature. You take a physical pill or whatever, or a chemical, this is triggering something physical inside of you. This is not how this technology works, and it's important that people understand that. I consider that a bogus technology, but they consider subtle informational energetic fields to be bogus. So it's a totally different aspect, just like homeopathy and so many other ones. Now, when you use a Hertzian frequency, well, this becomes a problem because this is a physical energy that is measurable. So you're actually putting that physical energy into you. So you're working more from kind of a physical reality, even though you could say that electricity is not physical in terms of a substance. But it really is. I mean, when you start putting meters on things, it's very physical, but you're not taking a substance. So it kind of falls in between, and it is an interesting area for everyone to work with. So those types of things is what you have to understand. So what you want to get anytime you're working with radionics is you want to get that informational subtle energy field. And of course, energetic field, we call it that way because it has to be energy. That's where these sigils come in. When you get a number, it's just kind of information. And so that information is kind of weak. You have to then energize it through using sigils, which are shape, form, vibrations, other energies. Again, these are all these types of energies. So that stimulates that. And then you still have to amplify that if you want to project it anywhere. Now, you can hold it all the time yourself, but that's not good enough. If you want to project it at somebody else, you need an amplifying system, and it has to be a correct type, plain and simple. You can't use the junk that is out there right now. And believe me, it's junk. They're all missing the boat by years. I see people, there's some people who have copied some of the older systems. Well, they were never very good, but they think they are because it's gossip and they want to tell you that it is. And then we have other people out there that are using very poor amplification. But there are some things that are interesting, but most of it is all junk. And we have to be very careful how things go in there. And we have to be very careful to make sure that we're not using things that are digitalized because they've taken the guts out of everything. So you also have to be careful with that. And that goes back to witnesses and so forth, if you can. That's why it's so important to use the correct type of camera. This is very, very important. So if you're not doing that, then you have a serious problem. So This is part and parcel of how to do things right. So if you're not using a proper instant camera technology that we have designed, you're losing huge amounts of energy. It's not any instant camera. You have to use our instant camera, the camera that I designed and hyped up. Again, we're dealing with these subtle informational energetic fields, and you have to bring that energy up. So when you take a picture of something and you capture the energy of it, because the photons have bounced off that person, went back into physical substances. They're in chemicals there, which now are vibrating the non-physical as well. So you have it there. If you don't have that, if you're printing something digitally out, yes, they look pretty and you can make dense photographs, but they don't really have any energy. I've tested this time and time again. There are a lot of people out there stating that they do. This is a complete bogus. Do what? Who's measured their stuff? Who's tested their stuff? I invented it, I like it, I tested it, you buy it. Well, this is just nonsense. There's no science, subtle energy alternative science, to back up these kind of claims that digital works. It's the same thing with computers. What are computers putting out? What kind of information is being transferred there? So these are all things that are very sketchy at best. You cannot put chips or programming of anything in radionics that makes it work. It just doesn't work that way because you're getting the human factor out of it. And this is what people want to do. They want to push things through so-called chips and other things. It doesn't work, people. That's all bogus. So it doesn't in any way produce the kind of fields that you have. This is a bioconsciousness technology. You are a critical part of it. It is amazing of how screwed up the human race is and how bizarre and how psychotic people are, but it's also amazing of the kind of particular type of energy you can produce through bioconsciousness. And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about bioenergy, meaning this is coming from something physical. We're talking about bioconsciousness. So this is quite different if we understand what that is. So the bio is part of it, but we're talking about consciousness here. This is a whole nother energy. Radionics has nothing to do with the electromagnetic spectrum. It has nothing to do with electricity. None of that, and none of the units have ever. What are you going to pump through a machine? So you're going to dial. People think you're dialing those machines and you're dialing in electromagnetic frequencies. None of them work like that, not from the very beginning with Abrams or to the right now to all the other units out there. That is a frequency unit. That's a Rife machine. So let's not mix apples and oranges. And Rife technology has its place, in my opinion. It's very fascinating. Rife claimed he had the cure for everything. They had a big meeting, and then all of a sudden it was suppressed. We just don't know what went on there. If it was so easy with frequencies that he should have had a long list of people that were cured. He does not have that from what I understand. But it's all, like all these things, it becomes very much mishmashed in it. As I said, we have cures for everything right now. And not exotic ones, by the way, but proven by the medical establishment, stem cells, and intravenous vitamin C, so many little treatments that do miracles for 99% of ill people. Yet it is totally and completely ignored. Let's stop spending trillions on research. Let's start implementing. And what is the fear here? That vitamin C is going to kill you? That stem cells is going to kill you? Well, there's so much data proving that these are almost 100% effective that it isn't even funny. It's just so absurd, yet people keep giving to the Heart Association, to the Cancer Society. Why? We have cures. Use them. Use that money to implement what we know. It's the same thing with free energy and everything else. Now, I keep saying this because people need to hear it. So it's nonsense. We know what works, and we also know what subtle energies are and how to handle and accumulate them and project them to get pretty much amazing results. We have to now take that information and we have to make it applicable to everybody's needs. We have to figure out the best way to amplify, the best way to deliver, and then we need to get this knowledge out to people and provide them with whatever they need. Simple as that. So when nobody needs to research anything at this particular point. It's amazing what's out there that has been discovered by common scientists. They even have a bacteria now that will eat plastic in seconds. So there is no plastic waste. But why do we want to do that? Plastic is nothing more than oil. We should be using it as oil. But the bottom line is there's ways to get rid of plastic very easily. And there's some French company that has a way of doing massive amounts of plastic can be destroyed within seconds, from what I understand. So there's an answer to everything. What happens? By the way, there's also somebody else, and it's been at least 25 to 30 years now. It's hard to believe, but they have figured out a way to get rid of nuclear waste. There's a particular way to get rid of it. Why don't we use it? Well, that's the big question. Why don't we? There's a huge line of products that have been patented, that have been used, that have been discovered by everybody, and it's ignored. What are we searching for? Why are we giving billions to universities and other people to do research for what? We need to implement. We need to have researchers do how do we properly implement that? And that's the same thing with radionics where I brought it to. Unfortunately, I, like others that have discovered things, are ignored, and they're going with the fools that are actually out there right now. So it's very interesting that this reality is there. That everything is sitting in front of us and refuse to talk about it. We have it. Why aren't we doing it? And of course, they won't listen to you. Oh, let's throw another $1 billion over here. Let's send some more money to the Cancer Society. Let's give more money to the corrupt Red Cross. All of these things that we keep doing, we keep feeding the liars, the cheats, and most of all, failure. We're throwing money at failure, and this will never work. I guess people don't get that. There's an old saying, good money after, good money after bad? You've already spent this stuff, you wasted your money, then you throw more money at it. Well, this is the nonsense that we're in. But getting back to the physical, you have to comprehend that fully and understand that the power or energy is based in the non-physical. And this is a little bit difficult, and I even have trouble myself. Well, do I want to use this energetic product, or do I want to use the symbol of it that connects to the core of the energy? And you always look at the two and say, oh, well, you want the physical. Now, we've even had people in the past say, well, it's good to have these things on machines. Well, I'm not sure that's true at all. They say, well, the psychics are not tuned in properly. The stronger energy comes from the vibration of it. When you make homeopathic medicines, homeopathy has been recognized in the United States as medicine. The stronger the homeopathy is, the more it has been cut. Meaning you keep taking it down to stronger and stronger vibrations, which means less and less of the physical. Now, that's a hard thing to buy, and I was never a big fan of it, but the bottom line is that's where everything comes from. That's where the empowerment, where the energy comes from, and that's the energy that this kind of technology grabs. The more dense the energy is, the less this technology can use it. Radionics are bioconsciousness energies. There's no physicalness to it whatsoever. So anytime you put something physical into the machine, it's not going to use it. It's as simple as that. So it has to be vibrational in nature. So a lot of times, and there's people out there and they put colors on the in plates or out plates, they put colors, they put stones. Well, this is basically worthless. Now, you can use colors, but you're going to have to shine a color light on there. Then you're using photons. To put a colored plastic sheet on there, like some people do, and I used to do this many years ago, is a waste of time. We also have to get into the photonic energy realm as well, which is dealing with these kind of non-physical, and photons can grab the non-physical or informational energetic fields at a very high level and move that information. People don't understand how that works. Information goes into the laser beams and transfers it. This is how CDs work. So when you play a DVD or a CD, you have a Blu-ray, meaning a blue laser, which grabs huge amounts of information, triple what red does, double what green does. So you have to use the right laser color, which is a particular type of frequency. Now, this frequency is able to pick up these energetic fields. That's how it works. And that's what we need to get into. And of course, I've been using lasers for many years. We started with red, which didn't do too good, and we have moved up to purple, which does extremely well. And those units will be coming out soon and as well. So, all of this is part of the process of going into an energetic reality entirely and moving away from the physical. The more you go into the physical, the less results you're going to get. So you have to kind of break that you think, I can hold it, I can feel it. Well, this means that it's real and there's more energy there. There is not. Plain and simple. Especially for the machines you're using, or even if you're using a symbolic machine, you're using anything else. These are all plain and simple technologies that are based on informational energetic field, bio-consciousness energies, because this is linked to consciousness. It's not linked to brain energies. It's not linked to the mind. It's linked to that consciousness, which really puts it all together. Your consciousness is the synergistic energy that puts the mind and the brain, these physical things, together. Now, the mind is just a computer gone wacky, and your brain is just the hardware. You need to put these together, and you also need to go on to a higher level, which means quality software, which is your consciousness. So I hope people understand these concepts. They're probably very new to you, and the information that you have out there and the crap that is being sold to you has caused endless problems. And that has to stop. We have to go on to the next level. And we will be releasing all this technology as we develop it. As I said, we are not researching. We are actually applying technology. There's nothing to research. We are fine-tuning technology to get it up to the highest possible power level and start developing the kick-ass technology that this is. It's around today. It's been around for over 100 years because it works. The problem is what works. And I've looked at all the machines, and I am probably the only radionic expert who has seen all these machines, from the modern ones to all the other ones. So we have one problem after another here where people just don't get it. So people have went off on their own. We have people in certain areas that are working on their own technologies. And of course, they're not sharing very much. They're afraid to be vocal. They're afraid really to say anything. And we're not really sure what they can do or not. I mean, these people have been doing this for 30, 40 years now with workable technology in a consistent flow. Even one who's taken over from his father, Kelly. And where's the beef, people? What have you done? There's a problem with that. It's because while Kelly seems to his father was a student of the famous Hieronymus, who claims he did a lot, but again, we just don't know what he did a lot of. So you can't go around curing people or they'll throw you in prison. There was even people trying to do agricultural work, and they were harassed by the agricultural companies. They sent the FCC after them and said, well, you're broadcasting. You can't do that without a license. So they confiscated the equipment and stopped them, which happened there. Well, we just don't know. And it seems to me times have changed somewhat, and we need to. There's a big agriculturalist radionic guy who died recently. Well, why wasn't he able to use this technology to help himself if it works so well in crops and other things? This is the conundrum. The head of the Psychotronic Association, Peter Moscow, died in his 60s again. Well, what's going on here? Peter Kelly, who worked with Hieronymus, and I used to get his newsletter, begged in one of his newsletters for money for his wife who had cancer. He needed money to go get cancer treatments. What? So here we go again. Is this all a fantasy? Why aren't these people applying it? We just don't know. I mean, there certainly isn't much information coming out of any places, and people like Don Paris with the SE5, which is an interesting instrument, but there's not much published with him, and he's got really bad stuff that he puts on his website that is from 25 years ago showing pathetic agricultural results. Well, what's going on here? Everybody's claiming to do a lot, but where are the proof of this? Well, there is none. Nobody's putting out anything of value, whether it's agricultural, and you think there would be some, there was Little Farm Research, which I guess is out of business. I'm trying to find them again to figure out what their research was that use SE5s. But you have to wonder if it works so great there, well, why wasn't that spread to other places? And it doesn't appear to be. So you just don't know. Everything is kept underground because of these pressures, just like the fact that we have cures for everything, but you don't see anybody pushing those. You don't see anybody forcing people to use that. We've even noticed that in recent time here, ivermectin, which is extremely effective, has been totally downgraded as junk and dangerous, and it works and it's been used for over 50 years very successfully. We have a long history. Why is it being suppressed? It costs 17 cents a pill. Well, here we go again. Who's allowing this to happen? People are dying. This is treason. We need to do something about this. So this is where we're stuck, and these are the problems. And if you want anybody to figure it out, people, it ain't going to be all these people that are out there already doing nothing after they've been in the business for 30 years. It's going to be me. So this is why it's so important that you support this organization and support me, so this technology. And if the technology only goes out to a select group of people that I know, my supporters, my Patreon, and other people, well, so be it. I'm not trying to save the world. The world is too stupid to be saved. They love their pain and misery, this open-air insane asylum of a society we have that backs losers and death and is 100% corrupt. Who cares about those people? The point is you make your life great. You take care of your people. You live long and prosper. And ultimately, I'm afraid to say it, that's all that counts. Because those people out there that don't support others and follow their corrupt doctors, one of the most corrupt industries there is the medical industry, ran by organized crime. There's a bunch of deviants and freaks in it. Of course, there's good doctors, but I'm afraid there's very few of them, as there is good military and good police. But unfortunately, it's a tiny, tiny percentage. So all of this has to change, and it's not going to change through going through the normal channels. And people have to stop supporting failure, and they have to start saying, implement what we have. It works. And, it'd be interesting to talk to people. They're going to deny it works. Say, oh, vitamin C is toxic. It'll kill you. Yeah, well, you're dying anyway, right? Nonsense. There is so much history and documented studies that have been done on so many of these low-cost items that it's frightening. And they're being suppressed for profit because, and why? And why are the governmental people allowing this, or even the Justice Department? This is fraud, it is treason, and nobody cares. So that's the story, but as I said, when it comes down to training yourself, so watch for my new training programs, watch for my course on subtle energy physics. Some of this has already been presented on the All Access membership that I offer as well. Everybody should be a member of my website, which you get all access membership. You get access to lots of rare books. You get 3 colleges, 3 libraries, which has all sorts of fantastic information there. And this is a good place to start. And a lot of information on how to construct radionic machines is in the Radionic Institute, the Subtle Physics Institute. Subtle Energy Physics Institute, which gives you all these things. And it's difficult. Again, I don't have the time to build these up as I like, but I do try and add to it. I do try to modify these things. So it's still a wealth of knowledge that you get for a very low price of only about $8 a month. It's $100 a year. And this is another great way to support us and get a ton of information, and we try and add to it frequently, but this is always difficult. Trying to keep up. Patreon is where you're going to get most of your new information, and new releases are going to go through Patreon. A lot of the older stuff in the colleges, which are free to enter, and you can get a certificate for free. There are some books you have to buy, etc. We don't provide those, but if you want really good training and you want to be walked through things, we do have colleges that offer these different types of degree programs, and you can get a degree in it to in different areas. But the information is there. The little certificates are fun, but the bottom line is that you need the information. So take this to heart, listen to this several times, and understand the difference between working from the physical to the non-physical and working from the non-physical to the physical. It's as simple as that. So people that don't get this are just backwards. The problem is that almost everybody is looking back. Well, this was done here, and we're going to go back to Freud. You're going to go back hundreds of years to archaic information that has little to no value, past very basic information. All that stuff needs to be thrown out the window. We're in a whole new reality. What we know now and capacities that we have are staggering. We have anti-gravity devices, yet you'll never hear that from dumbademia, because they're all correct. So we need to throw all this old technology out, all this Newton garbage, which was a good start, but it's only a bare preschool start, and start moving into a whole new way of thinking. And we need to start doing things more smart. Instead of using a collider to ram stuff together at super speeds, maybe we ought to figure out things from the energetic level up instead of banging things together like bozos. But that's what your science is. And they explain it to you. It's like figuring out what's in a car engine by taking two car engines and smashing them together and figuring out what flies off of there is going to tell us about the engine. Well, if you did that with two engines, you wouldn't figure out what the inside was, because what's thrown off is a bunch of other things that will tell you nothing. If you think you're going to bang things together so fast that it breaks down into particles you can figure out, well, you couldn't figure out what the mass was made of. You think you're going to figure out what the particle is? This is the kind of madness that we pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to research and billions of dollars to build their stupid little toys. It's about time this all stops. Until next time.